She was invisible, forgotten by a city that once promised her everything. But when a stranger in a luxury car offered her $10 million to pretend to be his date at a high society wedding, Amina thought it was just another trick. What she didn't know was that this single yes would uncover buried betrayals, ignite long buried wounds, and spark a journey neither of them was ready for. This is not just a story about a wedding. It's a story about power, pain, and the kind of love that heals what money can't. Amina, seeking shelter from the torrential downpour behind the bustling Oyingbo market, crouched beside a rusted container. Lagos, a city known for its unforgiving nature, showed no mercy to either the sky or its inhabitants. The relentless rain pelted her, and she instinctively pulled her threadbare scarf tighter around her shoulders, closing her eyes in a desperate attempt to become invisible. This was a survival tactic she had honed over months of sleeping on the streets. By appearing small, weary, and broken, she had learned to evade unwanted attention. Unfortunately, most people had grown accustomed to overlooking her. She had long forgotten the last time someone had truly looked at her, beyond the dirt, the hunger, and the layers of loss that had become a second skin. So, when a sleek black Mercedes-Benz silently pulled up beside the sidewalk and the driver's window lowered, Amina remained unperturbed. Her mind immediately raced with assumptions another politician, or perhaps one of those insensitive men who mistook suffering for desperation. She braced herself for the inevitable. Instead, a calm, deep voice inquired, "Are you available tomorrow?" Amina slowly lifted her gaze, her eyes meeting those of the man leaning out the window. His face was a haunting blend of focus and pain, his features sharp and almost too symmetrical eyebrows arched in a calculated expression, lips pressed in a restrained silence. His eyes held an enigmatic combination of weariness and intensity, as if he had lived multiple lifetimes in a single existence. Amina found herself torn between caution and insult, unsure of how to react. "For what?" she managed to croak, her voice hoarse from disbelief. "A wedding," the man replied simply. "I require your presence as my date." Amina blinked in shock, then let out a sharp, disbelieving laugh. "You're mad?" She sarcastically folded her arms. Despite her reaction, the man's expression remained unwavering. "I will compensate you," he said firmly. Now, Amina was certain he was delusional. "How much?" she demanded, her voice laced with sarcasm. 10 million naira, he replied, his voice steady. Amina's laughter came to an abrupt halt. She froze, unable to move or breathe. Her heart pounded in her chest, drowning out the sound of the rain. 10 million. For a single night, he repeated, his voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. A tense silence fell upon them. Even the rain seemed to pause in its relentless downpour. She scrutinized him more closely now. His suit was evidently custom-made. His wristwatch glimmered faintly even in the dim streetlight. He seemed out of place here, like something expensive that had been carelessly dropped in the dirt. Yet, he was here, engaging in conversation with her, offering her something that seemed too good to be true. "Who are you?" she squinted. "My name is Deji Bello." That name evoked a distant memory vaguely familiar. She couldn't quite place it. She had stopped reading newspapers long ago. "And why me?" she asked, suspicious. He sighed and leaned back, as if searching for the words. "Because I don't seek someone polished. I desire someone genuine." That was an unusual statement. Individuals like him didn't embrace real. They cultivated. They selected their partners in the same manner. They chose car shiny, flawless, and expensive. She didn't fit into any of those categories. "I don't comprehend," she whispered. "You don't have to," Deji replied. "You simply have to agree." Amina glanced around, uncertain if this was some form of hidden camera prank. "You want me?" she repeated slowly. "A woman you just met. Wearing slippers from Yaba Market and reeking of rain and suffering to pretend to be your girlfriend at a wedding? Yes. She stared at him intently. Are you on drugs? Deji offered a faint smirk. Number, but perhaps I'm a bit desperate. There it was, a crack in the facade. Amina's eyes narrowed. This isn't merely about a wedding. Number, is it your ex? He remained silent. That was all the confirmation she needed. Amina sat back on her haunches, pulling her scarf tighter. The rain had slightly diminished, but the wind still pierced through her clothes like tiny knives. And here was this stranger dangling money in front of her, money that could transform her life forever. 10 million. It surpassed her wildest imagination. She could reclaim her life, rent a room, open that salon she had always yearned to establish. Perhaps even assist the others she knew in the tent camp near Sabo. But what's the catch? She inquired. There's always one, isn't there? Deji replied, his voice suddenly quiet. Amina nodded. He glanced at the empty seat beside him, then back at her. Just one night, he repeated. Pretend to be someone else. Smile. Walk in with me. That's all. Amina bit her lip. Then she stood. The wind howled behind her like a warning, but she ignored it. Fine, she said. I'll go with you. But I need to know more. I don't do lies for free. Deji smiled for the first time. It wasn't a happy smile, it was the kind people wear when they're tired of pretending. I'll tell you everything on the way. He opened the passenger door. Amina looked at the car's soft leather interior, then down at her own torn trousers and callous hands. What was she doing? She didn't know. But she stepped in anyway. And just like that, everything she knew began to unravel. The car was too quiet. Amina sat stiffly in the buttery leather seat of the Mercedes, her hands in her lap, her fingers twisting nervously. She kept her gaze fixed on the rain-speckled window, watching the city blur into a shimmering wash of headlights, billboards, and tired faces. They had left the bustle of Oingbo minutes ago, but it already felt like another planet. Deji hadn't spoken since she got in. No small talk, no smile, no music. He just drove. The engine purred like it had secrets, the dashboard glowed with sleek digital lights, and the cabin smelled faintly of citrus and wealth. The silence between them wasn't uncomfortable, just loaded, like a fuse waiting for fire. So, Amina began, unsure of herself, you're not going to tell me why you're doing this? Deji didn't glance at her. His eyes stayed on the road. I told you, it's complicated. You brought a stranger off the street into your car, offered her 10 million naira, and you're telling me it's just complicated? He let out a dry chuckle. You're persistent. I've been homeless for almost 3 years. I've had to beg for water. You think I'm going to walk into a stranger's house without knowing what kind of madness I'm getting into? He was quiet for a moment, then he exhaled slowly, as if the truth had been pressing on his lungs. Her name is Tari. Amina looked at him. His grip on the steering wheel had tightened. My ex, the woman getting married tomorrow. Amina's eyebrows lifted. So I was right. You were. She left you? She destroyed me. That silenced her. For a minute, the only sound was the hiss of tires on wet asphalt. I built my company from scratch, he said. She was there at the beginning, but she didn't believe in me. She said I was dreaming too big, that I'd never be anything. I thought she was just scared. Turns out, she just didn't think I was good enough. He shifted gears and continued, his tone clipped. She cheated, not once, not twice. And when I confronted her, she didn't deny it. She laughed, said I should thank her for showing me my place. Amina stared at him. The pain in his voice wasn't dramatic, was old, buried deep and cemented. And now, she's marrying someone richer? She guessed. He didn't answer. That's why you need me, Amina said slowly. You want to show up with someone that looks like a prize. Deji finally glanced at her. You're not a prize, Amina. You're a mirror. That stunned her. What? You've been through hell. You've survived. You don't pretend. You don't need to impress anyone. You're real. That's why you scare people like Tari, because you're what they'll never be. Amina's throat tightened. She didn't know how to respond. They turned into an upscale neighborhood. The potholes disappeared. The roads widened. The houses grew taller, shinier, heavily gated. There were no okadas here, no open gutters, no hawkers shouting for customers. This was money, pure, unapologetic money. And then they reached his gate. A silver security post, an intercom system, a gate that looked like it belonged in a movie. A guard stepped out, saw Deji, and pressed a button. The gate opened without a word. Amina held her breath as they drove in. The mansion stood 3 stories tall, carved in white stone with black glass balconies. The garden looked like something from a European postcard. No dust, no disarray. Everything was too perfect, like reality had been edited. She stepped out cautiously, afraid to scuff the tiled driveway with her market-worn slippers. "Come on," Deji said, walking toward the front door. She followed him, feeling like a stray dog walking into a palace. Inside, the house was cold, visually, emotionally. Tall ceilings, marble floors, dark wood, tastefully furnished with expensive art and lifeless stillness. There was no warmth, no sign of life, no laughter. It looked like a house built for power, not people. "You live here?" she whispered. "For now," he said. "Sometimes I wonder if I live anywhere, really." That answer chilled her more than the air conditioning. He showed her to a room, an entire suite actually, bigger than the flat she'd once called home. Soft lighting, a vanity table, a bed that looked like it could float, silk curtains, an ensuite bathroom that smelled like eucalyptus. She stood at the center of it all, afraid to touch anything. "You'll meet with my stylist first thing in the morning," Deji said from the doorway. "Her name's Zara. She'll take care of everything." Amina turned slowly to face him. "And what do I do until then?" "Whatever you want. I don't belong here." He hesitated. "Neither do I." Then he shut the door. Amina stood in the silence. This wasn't real. It couldn't be. She walked to the vanity, touched its smooth surface, then the curtains, the bed. Finally, she curled up on top of the duvet knot under it, afraid she might ruin the perfect white bedding. She stared at the ceiling for a long time. 10 million. One night, she was about to walk into a storm of secrets she didn't understand. But somehow, deep inside her, beneath the fear, beneath the exhaustion, something stirred. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was something else. Something she couldn't name yet. Amina awoke to softness. For a moment, she thought she was dead and in some version of heaven that smelled faintly of lavender and eucalyptus. Then her eyes focused on the silk curtains, the cream-colored walls, the bed beneath her body so soft it felt like clouds. She sat up slowly, confused. Then it all came rushing back. The car, the mansion, the 10 million proposal. Deji. She let out a long breath and swung her legs off the bed. Her feet barely made a sound on the marble floor. She tiptoed to the window, pulled back the curtain slightly, and gasped. Green gardens, fountains, stone sculptures. The entire compound looked like the kind of estate you only saw in music videos. A guard in a crisp uniform was pacing at the far gate. Beyond that, nothing but clean roads and silence. Lagos had never looked this calm. There was a soft knock on the door. Amina turned. "Come in?" The door opened and a tall woman walked in, poised, elegant, dressed in a black suit with sharp heels and a sharper gaze. "You must be Amina," she said with a warm smile. "I'm Zara, Deji's stylist." Amina blinked. Zara looked like she belonged on a fashion magazine cover. "You're the one who's going to fix me?" Zara chuckled. "Darling, I don't fix, I reveal." She rolled in 2 large suitcases and clapped her hands. "Let's begin." The transformation took hours. Zara started with the long soak oils, salts, creams. Amina had never seen water that glittered. Her bath was drawn like royalty's appeaters. When she stepped out, her skin smelled like jasmine, and her body felt 10 kilos lighter. Her hair was next,